So right, we are doing a new podcast. We're going to keep it kind of family friendly. So welcome to the Movement Podcast. This is our first episode with myself, Adrian, and Miss Britt Pearce. How you doing,
Hello.
Britt?
Oh, I'm all right. Happy to be here. Happy to be making a podcast.
Shall we do wrist check or talk about the podcast first? Let's do wrist check. I feel like that sets the scene. What have you got on the wrist?
Today I am wearing, it's inspired by your latest video as well, my FP Burn Elegant. Easy watch.
Is that
to
definitely
choose.
the correct way to pronounce it? Elegant.
So I've asked people at the Burn Boutique because they say elegant, and I was saying elegante because I hang out with British people all the time because I live here. But they say elegant, so I adopted that.
Bollocks. Okay. I've just done like a 6-minute video where I pronounce it wrong the whole time. Anyway,
I've done that as well. I have whole videos of saying elegante, so you're not alone there.
And I feel like I got elegante from you, or I don't know. I'll blame you. I am wearing a much more down to earth and not as interesting, but very sexy IWC Mark 20. I love this watch. I still need to do a video on it. I haven't done a video on this thing.
I feel like it's a good representation of you. I feel like that watch is very, very you.
Is that an insult?
It's no. It's very classic. It's very easy wearing. It's great. It's a tool watch, rugged, easy to choose. Nothing wrong with that.
But the concept behind this podcast is Britt and I make very similar content online. It's very conversational. I've always wanted to have a podcast where we discuss things. We throw out a thought and bat it back and forth. And we have, I feel, a different view on watches. No doubt there's some overlap. You class yourself as a Rolex girl, and I'm definitely a Rolex fanboy. But we do have, I mean, you're wearing an Elegante and I'm wearing a Mark 20. So I think that proves a point as is. Does that cover it, do you think?
I'm not in an exclusive relationship with Rolex, but I would say I'm a Rolex fangirl through and through. No, I think that's exactly what this podcast has been born out of, and why I'm so excited to make this and be a part of this.
Yeah, I'd make it very clear that I'm in a very one-sided relationship with Rolex. I got a call from the AD over, what day is it? Right, I got a call yesterday from the AD, and they said, I just wanted to check in. Are there any watches that are on your? We've still got you down for an Explorer 2. Do you still need the Explorer 2? No, I've got that thing. So that was a long time ago. Any chance I could get a Pepsi? Yeah, no.
Oh, it hurts, doesn't it?
It's so humbling.
There's nothing worse than the AD call to ask if there's anything you're interested in. It's like you see the AD on your phone. You're like, they're finally calling me with that Pepsi. Here we go. Let's pick up. And they're like, hey, do you want anything from this brand or this brand? It's like, no, I thought you were going to finally call me about that Explorer or about this or that.
The worst time is when they just call you for a chit chat. Just thought I'd check in. No, fuck off. You've got to be excited.
Check in again when an allocation's here.
yeah. Sell me something. I want to give you money. So yeah, that was. He then said, "Is there anything else other than the Pepsi that you're after?" So well, I kind of like the OPs. Oh yeah, we can definitely get you one of those. But I kind of feel like, is it? Oh, we're going off on a tangent. Am I just trying to buy shit so that I can get a Pepsi? But let's talk about the podcast format. So we are going to be doing one podcast a week. It's going to be video based, but you are going to be able to get it on all of your podcast platforms. However, the first 4 episodes are going to be free. After that, it's going to be behind a paywall. But that's not because we're money hungry pricks. It's because we don't want to do advertising. We don't want to have to do any sponsorship. We don't want to have to make content that is that goes viral. We don't have to make content that triggers the algorithm and goes mental, because that's to get sponsorship, you then have to have high performing content. We want good content. We want to talk about topics that don't necessarily get everyone clicking on. We're watch geeks wanting to make content for watch geeks, as opposed to watch geeks trying to make content for the mass market. I think that kind of sums it up. Sorry, I've been talking a long time, Britt. Anything you want to add?
There is nothing I can add to that, because that's perfectly said and exactly what the heart and purpose of this is.
Cool.
At some point.
Okay. Thank you. On Substack, I should say, there will be a link in the show notes. I never know where the show notes are, but I'm sure I'll figure it out. I hear everyone else saying that. Britt, for those 2 or 3 people who might not know who you are, why don't you introduce who you are, and I'll introduce who I am. What's your background, Britt?
Yeah, if you don't know me, I run a medium-sized, a smaller-sized YouTube channel that it was really born out of enthusiasm. So I got into watches about in 2018, and the bug got me. It got me good, and now I've just been making videos for a few years. Absolutely love doing it, and you should like, comment, subscribe to the Britt Pearce YouTube channel.
No, I don't think you should. I think you should like, comment, subscribe to the Adrian Barker channel. And you can't say your channel's small, because by the time this goes out, you will have overtaken my bloody channel. So that means my bloody channel is small.
No.
Britt, you're growing at like 50,000 subscribers a month, and you're about 3,000 subscribers behind me. So, I'm Adrian. I run a very small YouTube channel, apparently. We're talking about watches, and quite similar to Britt, I got stuck with the bug of enjoying watches and hating my day job, and so I ended up making videos, and it somehow resulted in this. I think that covers it off. So, as for content, we're going to be touching on a bit of news. I do a video on my channel where I do like the monthly roundup and talk about news topics. And I always want someone to share thoughts with. So something, Patek will launch a shitty watch like the Cupidus, and I want to discuss it. Or Omega will once again increase prices, and I want to discuss it. And so we're going to be doing news topics. We're going to be doing Q&As, because this is very much, I know this conversation right now is us here, but we want to include you guys, a listener. And so, for example, we're going to be doing Q&A today, but we want to engage with you guys and hear your thoughts. So there's going to be a Substack that's going to be a place for you guys to share your thoughts, and we can engage with that on the podcast. And Britt, who's amazing at content, to come up with some discussions that she's shaking her head at me now. But you can see that there's a video. But we've got topics that we can discuss, like.
Yeah, so we've got a few very exciting
Sorry,
topics.
I threw that at you.
Oh no! No, we've got quite a few exciting shows coming up, and it's exciting as well because I come up with lots of ideas that aren't a YouTube video. It needs a little bit more discussion. It needs a little bit more something to it, and that's what the podcast can be. So our brand's getting women's watches right. Why is AP so different than other brands? And what's great about it is it's a conversation between us, but it doesn't just end here. It's with the community. It's with you guys. We want to be doing, like Adrian said, lots of Q&As, reading your comments, and even forming some of the content we do around what you want to see. This is a show for enthusiasts, and we want it to be a reflection of you and us and what we're actually interested in.
And I guess that kind of comes down to the name as well, that the whole movement. I know that's a bit of play on the fact that watches have a movement, but it's also the fact that this is a different kind of thing. I'm not throwing shade at any other publication or news outlet, but this is the unfiltered stuff, both from us and from you guys. This isn't going to be sponsored content. Yes, there's going to be a bias because I like Rolex and I like Omega, and I'm not a fan of Grand Seiko, and so there's going to be biases coming out, but they're unpaid biases. I think that's the important thing.
It's a bold decision to make a video for 2 people who have faces made for just podcast radio, but we're bold people. We're making bold choices.
Shall we do a Q&A?
Yeah, that sounds perfect. We've put the banner, we put a little post up on the Instagram. We've both shared it. We've had some awesome questions coming through.
Right, we're going to start with this one. Marks.watches. Rolex can get in the bin. That's not very nice. One brand collections. Are we going at Cartier, Piaget, or Neo Vintage VC? So if you had to dedicate your whole watch collection to a brand, where would you go, Britt?
Well, first of all, Mark's my friend in real life, and I can just hear him saying, when you read that question, I hear his voice saying it. If there was one watch brand that I could just collect, I've said this before, I will say it probably forever, Cartier. Cartier speaks so much to my sensibilities. And I think a lot of watch collectors wouldn't fully agree with that. But I like square rectangular watches. I like interesting designs, mid-century kind of designs. Cartier is me. What about you?
Oh, it's literally just come to me. So the reason I asked you first because I had no idea where I was going to go. I thought would it be Vacheron and kind of go for the overseas as my sporty and you've obviously got loads of dress watches. I actually think I'd go JLC. I'm obsessed
Whoa.
with, and I feel like the sports element. I'm obsessed with sports watches. I feel like that's my thing, and so there needs to be a strong sports element. But the Polaris travel time, I'm absolutely obsessed. So that would tick all the boxes. And then you've obviously got you've got the sector dial watches that could be your kind of explorer version or your daily watch, and then obviously a huge amount of dress watches. So I think JLC.
I didn't see that
would
coming
tick all
from
the
you.
boxes.
I didn't see that coming. I thought you for sure were going to say Vacheron. And if I was a man, I think I would choose Vacheron. There would be more pieces that would
Does
fit
that
my
make me
wrist
less of a
size.
man? Is that what
I
you're
was
saying?
good. Maybe if I just had a larger wrist, Vacheron would be my choice because, yeah, I like so many of their offerings, but they're too large for me. And if I had to limit it down to the women's collection slash watches that fit me, there's not as many things. Whereas for Cartier, there's so many things that will fit me. This will be
What
great.
sports watches? What sports watch would you get from Cartier? Do they have?
Their sportiest things would either be the Pasha or the Santos de Cartier would be their
Okay.
sportiest offerings. And for a sports watch, a tool watch enthusiast like yourself, it probably won't speak to you as much.
Yeah, kind of sporty in the same way as like a Reverso or Day Date. It's still got that jazzy element, like fancy
Hot
element.
take, I think the Reverso is still pretty sporty.
Oh,
I,
really?
yeah.
I did a video talking about what did I talk about? I can't remember what I said. I said after you said something about the Verso being a dress watch or something. I can't remember what I said, but the comment was, I think you find that the Reverso is traditionally a sports watch. Yeah, like 60 years ago, maybe, but not now. Well,
I'm a slow
this is why we're
adapter.
doing a sodding podcast. Is because we see things differently.
Yeah, I'm a slow adapter. I'm still like, that's a very sporty watch.
Well, but I can't see it. I feel like it's got the leather strap. It's got the fancy finishing, the polished edges. But then your go-to is Cartier, which is perhaps the next level up of dressiness and fanciness, even more
Yeah.
dainty.
So actually, Mark's watches let me borrow his stainless steel Reverso for quite a while. And as someone who also owns the Cartier tank, it certainly feels a lot sportier
Yeah.
than the tank does. I'm maybe being a little bit too strong. I may be making this a bit too much of a hot take. I completely see why people would categorize it as a dress watch. I'd maybe call it a pretty sporty dress watch. A dress watch for people who maybe don't always like dress watches.
Yeah. No, I can see that. It's got the dressy element, but it is still chunky and it's got a purposeful element to it. Should
I
we do
love
another
the
question?
gimmick of the Reverso. I love it so much. But yeah, next question. Don't let me get talking about the mechanism, which isn't over. No one will watch. No one will listen to this podcast.
Impressions by Ahmed. If not watches, what would you have focused this effort / enthusiasm on? So what other hobbies or geeky things would you have got into?
Formula One. I have like two
really?
aspects of my personality is that I love watches. I love Formula One. I think about this regularly. If the F1 space wasn't so oversaturated with people who know a lot more than me, I don't think I could add enough value to that space. I would love to make content around Formula One.
Oh, right. You're much cooler than I am. I would do cameras or guitars. Yeah, I kind of feel like that would be my thing. But photography as opposed to videography. Not sure. I'm quite happy with watches. Right, next up we have Jacob Millard has asked, what watches put a smile on your face when you see them out in the wild?
Oh, I love that. Everyone is going to hate me for saying this, but the moon swatch. I see the moon swatch regularly out in the wild. Anytime I go on holiday, anytime I go into town, I'll probably see one moon swatch, and it genuinely makes me happy.
Yeah, I have to agree with that. Not necessarily because it means that the person wearing it is a watch enthusiast or anything like that, but it's kind of uh, I think from an industry point of view, it worked. It did exactly
Yeah.
what it was supposed to do. It was to take this iconic design and make it for the masses, for the people who aren't necessarily into watches. And it certainly worked. I was at dinner the other night, and a guy on the table across was wearing a Panerai, and that made me smile. I thought that's I mean, he was probably about 8.5 feet tall or something, so it looked normal on him. But it was one of those moments where like I couldn't tell if he was a watch guy or not, but he probably is. To spend Panerais aren't cheap. To spend that kind of cash on a Panerai and it being a chunk of and someone has to keep the brand going, and it could be him. He could be the one customer of Panerai. Oh, I'm gonna piss people off with this
It's the 8 foot people with
podcast.
tree trunk wrists. I have one more in Bristol. So where I live, I regularly see the vintage Casios as well. So the little ones that are like gold or stainless steel.
Yes, yeah.
I see them so much and it makes me so happy. And it's a lot of young people wearing them.
Yeah, it's kind of that retro fashion that's come back again.
Yeah, for how much people in the watch community and us watch enthusiasts love the F91W, I see them out and about every once in a while, but I see mostly the more vintage inspired, nostalgic Casios out regularly. Always makes me happy. So I've stopped going up to people who are wearing watches that I want to talk to them about because I think maybe because I'm a female as well, it makes me look like a gold digger or something. Like I'll be like, "Wow, I love your Submariner," and they're like, "Leave me alone." When really I just wanted to talk to them about their watch, and I was very excited about it with them, and I wanted to know, "Oh, why did you choose that watch? Oh, that's such a cool choice." So it started making me look bad. So I've had to stop doing that, but my old criteria for going up to people and complimenting their watch was just if the watch made me feel some form of excitement in any way, which was a lot of watches. And I think people in Bristol think I'm a weirdo now, so I had to stop.
It is a weird thing to do, and I've often got when I used to live in London, I'd often talk to people on the tube about their watch, and it always started off awkward, but it always came down to vintage. If it was vintage and looked worn and used, I kind of feel like there's a story there. I mean,
That's
there was an
cool.
old guy that I was sat next to who was wearing a tiny solid gold tank, Cartier tank. I said, "Oh, nice watch. What's the story behind it?" And he was a bit dismissive, and I told him that was into watches. And it turned out he used to be a watch dealer, and he said he had absolutely everything, and he's retired, and he realized that was just the one watch. He didn't need anything else apart from this tiny tank. And there's another guy who had a Submariner on, 5513, and I actually I tried to sneakily take a photograph. His hand was holding the rail. I tried to take a photograph, and he caught me. So I asked him about his watch, and it turns out his dad was no, sorry, his granddad was a cave explorer, and that was his watch. And I said, "All right,
What?
so this is the original thing." And he used to go dive exploring with this Submariner. And he said, "Well, it's kind of original. It's everything's been changed. It's gone like through three bracelets." He said his granddad would say the clasp would always get ripped off on rocks and things like that. And it was cool to hear that. He admitted he wasn't necessarily into watches, but he thought it was a cool watch, and I thought that his story was even cooler.
It is so
That's pretty
cool.
sick.
That's
Yeah.
so special. That is such an unlikely person to meet as well. That's really cool.
Oh, and even weirder, it turned out he was the nephew to one of the managers at the company that I used to work at. She came up to me and said, "Oh, you met, I can't remember what his name was. You met so and so." Like, did I? What? Like, yeah, you asked him about his watch. Like, yeah, what a small world. Anyway, shall we get back to our funny little questions? Here's one. a tricky one, a deep one.
Oh, no.
Escapement24 has asked, would love to know your thoughts on RRP, recommended retail prices, and whether the product/price ratio has got out of whack.
So this
What
is
are your
something
thoughts on that?
I think about a lot. And this is something I'm kind of in the middle of. It's always interesting when a question will come at a time where you're making a video about that. So you're already steeped in that and you've already been thinking about it quite a bit. So yeah, RRP has gone insane. It's gone out of control. It's not been in line with inflation. I think there's a lot of factors to it. And there's always a tension, I think, when you're trying to create something artistic and new and fresh and with a high degree of engineering, and the tension of that, plus also being profit motivated and needing to make money. Because at the end of the day, these are for-profit businesses. These aren't not-for-profits making beautiful watches because they feel like it. These are for-profit businesses, and they have to make money to stay in business. And if they don't, they end up probably a subsidiary. So in order for these two to continue to coexist, I think at some point, something's going to have to give. Either they're going to have to say, we're happy to not maximize profits to the furthest degree that we can, or they're going to have to sacrifice something somewhere, whether that's in materials used, craftsmanship, whatever it is, but something's going to have to be sacrificed somewhere. And I think the problem people are having with the retail prices at the moment is that I don't think a lot of people are seeing the price increases as being in line with, one, inflation, and two, the quality of product that they're receiving. So I've recently bought two neo vintage Omega Seamasters. They're both Seamaster Diver 300s from the 90s and 2000s. And I find the build quality of the 90s models to be the same as modern Omega. Wow. Which you probably shouldn't find that. Yeah. And it's a fraction of the price. And I like the sizing so much more. And I know people will debate on the movement, and I still think coaxial is amazing, but the slimmer movements just make more sense for me and what I want in a watch. But I don't think retail prices as they are right now make sense.
Completely agree. And it's interesting how the quality or build quality of a 90s 2000 Omega is very similar to what it is today, whereas Rolex is... the build quality of Rolex from the 90s is shocking compared to what they are now.
Yeah, 90s, 2000s.
It's chalk and cheese. Yeah, bracelets were horrendous. But I completely agree. The what we get for our money now is it doesn't make any sense, and it's a complete opposite from 5 or 6 years ago, where at Watches of Wonders and Basel World, then that brands are talking about value for money. Look at what we're doing. We're now doing in-house. We're using we've got a ceramic bezel. The water resistance is now X. Or you get a bracelet and you get a strap, and it's still the same price. And I feel like there was such a push for value for money, and then it could have been post-COVID that things just changed so that brands weren't selling as many units. You could do value for money if you're pumping out these watches, and you can still make a good profit with a lower margin. But now it's got to the point where brands are selling so few watches, so maybe it's just a matter of they have to increase the margin. But they're also doing that with things that don't make sense, like precious metal. When Oris started doing diamonds on the dial and two-tone watches, you know the market's changed. A brand that's focusing on value for money, their whole the tagline, I think, is making watches for citizens and normal people. You don't need diamonds on the soldering dial, even if they are lab-grown diamonds, because it's just a way for brands to increase the price disproportionate to the materials that are used. I think it's across the board. Rolex's a Submariner is now 10 grand. A Daytona's 12 grand, I think it is.
Yeah, they're a number I was very, very surprised by. I think it's about 12-ish for a stainless steel.
Which in my head, the Daytona's a $9,000 watch, the Submariner's a $4 or $5,000 watch. These prices are the Speedmaster in my head is $3.5, $4,000.
The Speedmaster gets me every time. Every time I look at the Speedy, I think, what is that? What it is now?
It's
Yeah,
insane.
it's shocking every single time. Yeah, and this is something we see every time I look at the Morgan Stanley Swiss Watch Industry Report. Every year, it's just a further premiumization. So it's further specific brand names seem to be getting more of the market share. And I think if people are spending a lot of money on a watch, now I think they might be looking for brand names more. And there is a certain amount of things that they want to be finding in that watch. But yeah, there's certainly been a premiumization. Something very, very interesting I found out at Watches and Wonders as well. I was speaking to one of my friends and they said Watches and Wonders, and this is just what my friend said. I don't know if this is fully accurate, but this is what she said. Watches and Wonders was giving out less press passes and more passes to super collectors. So what this means is maybe they're hyper focused. Maybe they don't need to be selling to more people. The fewer people with lots of money will keep us going. That's fine. I wonder if that's what that play, but I don't know.
That's very interesting. And I'm seeing on press trips more and more there being high net worth customers, clients, which is very interesting that you directly are targeting the guys who have cash, which is a very interesting move. But I've asked so many CEOs why there's this massive price increase, and I feel like maybe it is different for each brand, but they all come up with different things. Like it's simply the price hasn't increased; the price is still the same price in Swiss franc. It's just a fluctuation in the exchange rate. Components are now more expensive, perhaps alluding to the fact that they're not in Switzerland. They're not made in Switzerland. The components that they're made outside of Switzerland and buying them in is costing even more. But I think it just comes down to the fact that a lot of these brands are struggling, and the only way that they can make their cash is relying on people, the few people buying the products at a higher margin rather than the mass market buying the products. But this is, I think, why there's been this explosion of neo vintage. I'm certainly looking more neo vintage than new at the moment.
Neo vintage.
You too.
Is the way forward. I love neo vintage, and I also think the rise of micro brands has been really interesting in this time as well. So I was recently reading a book, a very niche book. It was about the consumer habits of Japanese people in the 90s. Japanese consumer habits in the 90s. And there was a lot of people, when economic times were leaner, brands and people selling expensive high-end things would lean into the geeks. Because when economic times are leaner, who's going to buy your watches? It's the turbo geeks. It's the people who are watching all the YouTube videos. It's the people, I save my money and I buy these really specific intentional watches, whereas my friends who aren't turbo into watches won't be doing this. They'll say, oh, I'll spend my money elsewhere to whatever their interests are. And I think micro brands and indies particularly captivate the enthusiasts. So that's an interesting dynamic as well, as how do micro brands fit in this and how are they doing during this time of premiumization?
Yeah, that's. I think a lot of them are making more profit than the big brands because of the marketing budget and the fact that they're direct customer as opposed to having to share some of their profit with ADs. Right, let's see what else we've got. Oh, this is a long one, and the words are already moving around on the thing. Case back chronicler. Can you explain for people way out in the back why brands actively engage with industry figures like yourself after you've been critical about their brand is a positive thing? As long as intent / execution is at least consideration when it comes to feedback. It's an interesting thought. So essentially, when we're nasty about a brand, say bad things, why do they engage? I've got my theories, but I'll let you.
I was going to let you go first because I was going to say
Right.
you have more experience with this, I think, and will have stronger theories than me. I have a few ideas, but if you take that one away.
I can't speak for all brands, but quite often when you criticize something, actually, no, I think it's a real show of confidence when you criticize a brand and they reach out, because when they reach out, that's them saying, "Hey, I think you've got this wrong," or just in case you haven't seen this aspect of us, you should come see this. So I criticized that the last time this happened. Actually, no, that there's a more recent time, but a big time. Anyway, this has happened with Tudors, happened with Breitlings, happened with MB&F. So MB&F, I did a video talking about when they did their Mad One watch and how it's similar to the Moonswatch, where it's essentially we're paying to market their product. And my whole premise was MB&F are doing something dirty, because the only people who can buy the Mad One that it was back then is press people. They were all invited. And so essentially they're all mugs, because they're all paying £2,000-3,000 to buy this watch. And then they're all giving free marketing because it's a brag tag to say, oh, look at me, I was invited by Maximilian to buy this watch. I then got an email from MB&F PR team saying, do you want to come to a launch of, I can't remember what it was, this really fancy Tourbillon with 3 dials and this crazy, insane, it's like a hotel of a watch. Anyway, they sat me right next to Max at the dinner for this launch, and he was like, so let's talk about your video. And the interesting thing was, I had a hot take that was just wrong. And so, and that's kind of how this works, is the fact that you can be critical, but you can also be wrong. So I had this idea that MB&F were only doing the Mad One to get this free publicity. And Max actually said he had the idea of the Mad One before doing all the MB&F stuff. And he didn't mean for things to go as crazy as he didn't mean to make these high-end watches. He just wanted to make cool shit, and he wanted to make cool shit for people who couldn't necessarily afford, like the Greubel Forzies and stuff like that. And so it was really interesting to hear that journey of, you can't do the affordable stuff until you've made cash to do the affordable stuff. I couldn't drive money into the R&D of the Mad One until I had money to drive into it. And so actually his passion was to do the Mad One before the crazy watches. And so that was one of the instances of criticizing someone. And then it was an education piece, which I found really quite interesting.
Yeah, it's similar to me. Similar for me. So I've had a similar thing happen with Breitling. I've had a similar thing happen with IWC. One of my best performing videos is a video titled The IWC Problem. And some of the things I've learned, I was just plain wrong. Some of them...
Are we going to get into our first argument now? Is that what's going to happen?
Some of them I think I was right, and some of them I learned I was just plain wrong. But a lot of... And I agree completely with you. I always think it's like a big balls move when they message you and say, I don't think you're quite right on that, or let's show you why you're wrong. Or if you still think that, say it. I think as well, and I could be wrong here again, a lot of these brands are fighting for coverage against bigger brands, against Rolex, against, and I think they're interested in being a part of the conversation at all, and let's keep building. And I think as well, a lot of the brands that are worth partnering with take on board your feedback and your criticism. They want to hear that market research from enthusiasts. So, as an enthusiast or someone with an enthusiast audience, what do you think of this?
Yeah, completely agree. And that's one of the reasons why I love IWC so much, is that I can say something critical about their watch and the response will be also, I'll share that feedback with the team. And it's not, no, don't say something negative, which some Yema got very upset with the idea of me saying anything bad about their watch. So I just deleted the video, didn't do it, sod them. But IWC's response is, thanks so much for feedback. I'll share it with the team. It's not, please, can you remove that little part because you said something nasty. Equally, I did a video about Glashütte original CQ panorama date. Can't remember what I said negative about it,
Yeah.
but I had a criticism. They shared that video on their Twitter account and said, "Thanks so much for the feedback." And I think that's, you guys are awesome. Like, you aren't precious. There's brands within that Swatch family who are very precious and get very upset if there's anything critical said about them. And so it's refreshing to get that sort of response. Did we answer his question? I think we did.
What was the question?
I think we just went off on when we've pissed brands off.
We just said our opinion on something.
So I think the question was around, can you explain why this happened? Why did brands engage with us when we criticize? And I think it simply comes down to, I think we did answer it. I think it comes down to the education piece. It's, we think you've got it wrong, or you think you dislike our products. Let me show you what goes into it. Or Nomos is a really good example. I used to think Nomos was, that's probably the most recent thing. I used to think Nomos was just funky designed ETA powered, Sleater powered watches. Fuck no. That stuff is, one, the guys who work at the company are so cool, so chilled out, just genuinely passionate about what they do. A PR team who actually understand watches. But they make their watches. They have in-house movements, and the finishing and products. I guess coming back to the value for money thing, it's like, there's still brands out there pushing product out that is amazing value for money. So I think Nomos is probably,
they're one of the most misunderstood brands. And I was exactly the same. I thought they were just some little quirky thing doing something different. They sell the most units in all of Glashütte. If you see someone wearing a German watch, it is most likely going to be a Nomos. Their movements are not completely, but like, I think it's like 98%. It's a ridiculous percentage made in-house. There's no better in-house movement watch. There's no better value out there other than Nomos. And like you said as well, I think it's a real sign of a good quality company, their PR people. And on top of that, they have such low turnover. People don't leave that company because they're delightful to work for. I have
got that
such
vibe.
a soft spot for Nomos. I genuinely love them as a brand.
That's clear.
So it's 95% of their movements are made in-house. I can't tell you how much I believe in Nomos, how excited I am about them. And I think a lot of people misunderstand them. But I think the big reason why brands want to still work with people, even if they're saying negative things, is I think they believe in their product enough to say, and this is the mark of a good quality product, is can it stand up to scrutiny? And if you're not allowed to scrutinize it in any way, I'm not sure if you're building a great brand or wanting to make the best quality product that you can make, because that takes criticism, that takes a little bit of pushback, or, I'd like to see it this way, or tell me why you did it that way.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the first brands that I borrowed a watch off, Oris, I asked, it was after a Red Bar event. I had no subscribers. I think it was like 1,000 subscribers or something. And I had a chat with Rolf, the CEO, and I asked him, like, could I borrow a watch? I was feeling cheeky. I didn't know how it works. And he made it very clear, like, you say whatever you want. I said, that was it. I said, do you need to see the video before it goes out? He said, no. You don't care what you say. You say what you want. Like, we aren't going to change what we do because you dislike a product.
Okay, so final question of our Q&A, and I'll ask you this one, Adrian, so we can mix it up a little bit. So this is for our Britt 8. What do you know now that you wish you had known when you were getting started in 1, the watch industry, and 2, watch collecting? So maybe we'll start with number 1. What do you know now that you wish you had known when you got started in the watch industry?
This is going to sound negative, and I guess it does, but I still love the industry. But it's just the sheer amount of bullshit that the stories that brands make up, the way things are marketed, the where things are made, the whole in-house thing. It just focus on the product. Is the end product good? all the other gumph before that, the stories, the marketing, the heritage, is all bollocks and in a lot of cases manufactured. So just focus on the watch. Is the watch good? Yes or no? What about you?
Yeah, I'm really stewing over this one. Because I feel like me becoming more of an industry insider and getting invited to press trips, all that sort of stuff's very new for me. So I've felt like an outsider for quite a while, and I was just speaking as an enthusiast, but it's now that I'm getting deeper into it that I'm seeing some things that are real bugaboos for me and really upset me. I feel so naive. I genuinely didn't know or understand how it worked, the sums of money that are being splashed around different places. I truly didn't understand. And it's hard to not be
What
jaded about it sometimes.
do you mean? How much watches are costing, or how much brands are spending on events, or how much brands are spending on influencers?
Yeah, I'm being a little bit purposefully cryptic, but yeah, how much brands spend on influencers, um, and even some of like the big brand parties and stuff. I feel like I was
Hmm.
so naive to it. And even it was my first year ever at Watches and Wonders. And I genuinely had no idea how much time, effort, and money brands put into this singular event. And it's a lot. And it was lovely to take in. And I think as a rural Canadian, I found it exhausting and overwhelming, overstimulating, but also dazzling. I
Yeah.
really didn't understand how much they were doing. And I don't know if I, I'm still working out what the watch industry is and what they find valuable and where they're putting money. So I think there's still a lot I don't know now. And maybe never will find out thanks to this podcast. They're going to stop inviting me places.
Yeah, I completely understand the feeling of being jaded. I think I've had this cloud of jadedness over me for quite a few years now. It's often I'll be at a watch event and I'll be the only one there who's not being paid to be there, and
Right?
that's really, it triggers me that one, I'm then not being paid, but also the fact that can't we be here because we enjoy what's going on? Why do we have to be paid to? I was at a Zenith event, and I was literally the only person there who wasn't being paid to be there. And we're driving cars, we're playing with nice watches, we're in a cool hotel. This is a passion. Can it not be that? But at the same time, so on one hand, it's getting frustrated that people are there just because they're being paid, but at the same time, I'm there. It's costing me money to be there. It's going to cost me money to make the content, and I'm not being paid. And so I don't go. I go to so few press events now because of that. Because I just can't be asked with all that more
I
bullshit.
get it. I get it. And I honestly do find it's so embarrassing to say. I'll come back from a press trip. I'll be like, James, my husband, oh, that was very exhausting. And he's like, what did you do? I was like, well, there was a wine taster. I'll explain it. I was like, that's actually, but I would genuinely, I just love being at home with my family so much. I'm such a little
Yeah.
homebody that I do find it overwhelming and exhausting. But it's really dazzling. But I'm the same. I'd rather be at home making content. I'd rather be in this garage making videos.
Yeah,
And a
exactly.
lot of people don't understand that. But this is where I want to be, talking about watches, just airing my opinion out. And yeah, and like you said, it is costing me money to be there. And then I'll also get comments of, you're only being nice to them because they invite you on these press trips. It's like, that was work for me. I would rather be here.
Yeah, and no, dickhead. If it was to be paid, it would cost so much more than a flight to, I can't remember where that trip was, Milan, an expensive hotel. Like, there's so much more money being pushed around than a hotel and a flight. It's legitimately, I can't say it's idiotic because people don't understand the amount of money, but it's
Yeah.
insane. It's I can't remember what the question was. What do we know now?
Oh, yes. What do we know now? Oh gosh, we're going to be industry outsiders by the end of this. And it's as an enthusiast and as a watch collector, what do you know now that you wish you knew then?
Yeah, as a watch collector, I think it's perhaps you don't have to have that watch. Like when I fixate about a watch on Instagram, and you can do all the research you want. That doesn't mean you have to buy it. But there's been quite a few times where I'll do a deep dive on a watch. I'll get legitimately obsessed about it, buy it, and feel like, I've got it now. And then you move on to the next thing that you obsess around and explore. So you don't have to buy it. I need to tell myself that about cameras as well.
I would definitely build off of that. I agree completely. You don't have to buy everything that you quite like. Just buy the ones that you absolutely love.
Yeah.
I've spent quite a bit of money on watches I quite like. And I think, they're not getting the wrist time. They're not, I don't know. And yeah, that's what I would say as well.
Amazing. Shall we wrap it up there? I'm really excited about this. I think we're gonna disagree on a lot more than I thought we were going to disagree on.
Yeah, when you're wrong though, Adrian. So that's okay.
But the fact you recognise that, I think, is really healthy, and I think that's a really good place to start. And then we can start figuring out what direction we can get your opinions in, for them to be right.
No, this is going to be really fun.
Right, where can people find us? I don't even know our URL yet. You're watching it on Substack. What am I talking about? You're here because you know the URL. Look at the top of the screen. Instagram. Our Instagram is themovement.podcast. We have no other social media right now, so that's it.
That's where you can find us. Yeah.
You can find us. If you want to interact with us, you can interact with us on the Substack. We'll be in the comments. You'll be in the comments. And we can have a little natter. And I can't wait to see you guys again very soon.
Love you. Mean it.
See you guys later. Bye.